children who are sent north. I can only imagine. We just celebrated my daughter Molly's 6th birthday yesterday. I can only imagine what that must be like to be in a position to put her on a train north through Mexico up to the border with the United States, not knowing how she will fare, if she will get there, what will happen to her once she arrives. Conditions have to be really bad, unimaginably bad to me for that to happen. So while I agree that maybe Mexico can do more, although I find it ironic that so many of us question whether we have an appropriate border policy, that we would be implementing or imposing one on another country. Mexico can do more. Perhaps we could completely fence the border and build a giant moat with alligators to keep kids and people away. Maybe we could put these kids on a bus and just drop them off at the border with Guatemala. I don't think any of those are consistent, one, with the law, two, with our values, three, with my conscience or the conscience of many of the people in this country. I think we have to address the issues in those countries of origin. And we have some complicity in this. We are the world's largest drug market. Those countries are in between the world's largest drug suppliers and the world's largest drug market. I think your public relations campaign, Mr. Secretary, to those countries to tell them that this is a dangerous journey is well-intentioned. I don't know how, frankly, effective that's going to be. I think we need a public relations campaign in the United States. If you use drugs, you are complicit in the dangers that these children face. We do have a humanitarian crisis here. There's no easy solution. It certainly won't be solved by walls or border enforcement. I think we need to go to the countries of origin. With that, Mr. Chair, I will yield back.
Article 4, Section 4 guarantees every state that joins this union protection against this. Protection against this. Article 4, Section 4, look it up. Every resource. How about Voice of America? Are we directing a Spanish-speaking Voice of America into Central America saying, you cannot come into this country illegally, you will not get citizenship, in fact, you're going to be deported back to your home country? That's a resource that can be used. Are we doing that? Maybe we are, but I say we should, just like we should have the National Guard on the border. So, Mr. Secretary, you mentioned in your statement that we should do everything consistent with the laws and values of this country. We have laws on the books. The 2006 Secure Fence Act, we've got a very porous southern border. We don't have a Secure Fence Act. There's numerous laws that say if you enter this country illegally, you will be deported. That is against the sovereignty of this nation, that you cannot enter this country illegally. Are we enforcing that? No, we seem to be looking the other way. And so would you agree with me, and are you willing to say that if you enter the United States illegally of any age, you'll be deported back to your home country?
Congressman, as you well know, we have to prioritize removals in accordance with the resources the Congress gives us. So I have a finite amount of enforcement resources, border security resources, and so for the sake of Homeland Security, what we need to do is go after the worst of the worst first, which is what I believe we're doing. I think we could do a more effective job of that, but I believe that we need to prioritize and go after those who represent threats to public safety.
We've increased your CBP officers almost 9,000 in 10 years or less.
As it relates to the unaccompanied children, the law dictates how they're processed, both in the initial for book-in and deportation proceedings and then turning over to HHS.
I understand that, but what's changed to drive so many to come recently? What's changed?
I'm not sure.
Okay, I'm not sure. And I'm not sure either, but I think our policy has changed. The public perception that you can come here and stay has changed.
I've seen those reports. Those are reflected in the intelligence that we've collected. It's in the open source.
It's not reflected?
It's in the media. No, it is reflected.
It is reflected.
It's in the open source reports.
So has human trafficking also gone up as a result of these increased numbers?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure it's gone up. I think these populations have increased, which leads me to believe that smuggling has increased as well.
All right, Mr. Secretary, I got to move on. I appreciate your answers. Regarding the 29 January advertisement for escort services, I understand you were on the job for about a month, and so you're somewhat unaware. Do you know what drove that policy decision? Do you have any idea to advertise?
I haven't seen the document.
All right, I'm going to provide it and have it.
I believe it's a recruitment document.
There's a couple points of contact, Mr. Tony Ross and Rachel Ali. If you could, in writing, respond to me about what the policy decisions were that drove the advertisement? And do you know if this is unprecedented? Have we advertised for these escorts in the past? And if not, why not? And if now, why now?
I'd have to see the,
All right, I'll yield back, but I would like those answers in writing. Can I get a commitment to get them?
I always believe in being responsive to Congress.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I want to ask you a question. First of all, people are slamming Mexico because they've got these drug cartels, etc. The reality is that the demand is coming from the United States. I mean, what are we? Where are we? Where are we? Why haven't we done something about this demand for drugs? I mean, it's a supply and demand issue. People, Americans, are putting cash on the barrelhead to get these drugs. So we can't just look at a country that's transiting drugs or a country that's sending drugs. So we got to say, what are we doing about the demand here in the United States? Because that's where, that's where this money comes from. Secondly, I just want to address, and I agree on so many things with Ms. Miller, especially when it comes to borders, but I would have to respectfully disagree on a couple of things that I heard from her about not working with Central American countries or Mexico. First of all, we know, this has been proven time after time after time, that the education of a mother around the world, the education of a mother is central to the nucleus of the family, the stability of the family, and the economics of the family. So this is a long-term investment that we make when we have USAID in so many countries working to educate young ladies, because they will be the mothers of the future. And with respect to working with institutions or working to make institutions in countries, we also do that all over the world. If you have a place, a country, and you can't trust the judicial system, you can't think you're going to get a fair shake if you get picked up off the street, or if you've got a business and you can't get a contract enforced. I mean, that's what makes America so great, is that we have these incredible institutions, these democratic institutions, with the small d, by the way, you guys, and these judicial institutions that we work on every day to make great America, and we try to put that and help other countries to do. So I think these types of things that we are working on in other countries are incredibly important to give hope, and to give hope to people who live in those countries, and to have them have an ability to stay in those countries and not leave them and come up to an America that we know right now, when we see the border is being taxed. I would like to ask you about this whole issue, because some have said that gang members or individuals with criminal records are the ones that are accompanying these children who are coming up and being apprehended. So
I think that there was frequent reference to, I don't think the law allows me to send an unaccompanied minor home. And my question to you would be, which comes first, the law or the Constitution? Because as I read through the 14th Amendment, I think that the Constitution is fairly clear on what citizenship entails.
Well, let me be clear. I don't believe that the law would allow us to send an unaccompanied child home in an expedited removal proceeding. They are given notices to appear. Deportation proceedings are begun when they're apprehended.
But for practical purposes, as the testimony with you and Meehan suggested, once they're here, they're here.
Well,
And you didn't refute that.
The law requires that once a child is identified as unaccompanied, the CBP has to give them to HHS, and they do what's in the best interest of the child. That's what the law passed by the Congress requires.
I don't have that number in front of me, John, but... Why? And why don't you have that number? It's been asked everywhere. It's a number the administration has, right? It's not that you don't have it, it's that you don't want to release it, right? Well, I don't have it, actually, John. DHS may have it. But let me just stipulate something. Without knowing what that number is and without having seen it, I think we can all stipulate that that number is too high. And that's why you have seen an investment, a surge, in fact, of resources by this administration to try to address what is a large and growing problem along our southern border. That's why the
We've seen an investment of additional judges and asylum officers and ICE attorneys deployed to try to more efficiently and rapidly process these cases. And where necessary, we're opening up additional facilities where adults and adults that are traveling with children can be detained. In conjunction with the opening of those detention facilities are, again, additional ICE officers and immigration judges who can process these cases quickly, so that if it is determined that individuals should be removed, that they will be removed promptly as well.
So for some transparency, can you get that number for us? People have been asking for, quite some time.
I understand. I think your interest in this is understandable. I don't have the numbers, but I will stipulate that the number is larger than any of us in this room would like to see.